Think about what you saw and absorbed first that made you know this was where you want to go, or this is what you become. As I got older, I began to recognize the kids around me didn't have the life I had. I went to the museums, I went to Carnegie Hall every Saturday morning. I'd been to every museum in the city, knew it all by heart. We went to theater every single weekend. And I realized that all of these additional influences and inspirations were not happening to everybody else. And so from the earliest days, since my parents were also very political, I wanted to give back. Now, many of you said, give back. I wanted to give back what I felt others didn't have, which is to get in touch with your soul and to find a way to reach your soul so that you become a more enhanced person, externally and internally. So I became a Martha Graham dancer, and I was a performer. I was in college when I was 15 years old, a very bad idea, don't let anybody do that. And everybody was drinking beer, and I loathed the look of it, and how could I even tell them, because if I told them, you know, I'm out. And I went to NYU, majored in physical education because it's the only way you could major in dancing. You needed a gym. And passionate about teaching, about this business of giving back. So here are these themes so far. The global thing, the interest in national folk culture, because I was exposed to a great deal of it as a kid, with very odd and interesting background. You'll read it in the book. And then, I'm chairman of the dance department, Georgia State College for Women, 19 years old. Now that was given to me by the chairman of the dance department at NYU. What I had to do with it then was, and all of you had to do this, is adjust to a totally new way of life. See what it was. Where could you fit in? And could you keep your theme going? All you in the military who are saying you had to be yourself too, to keep your theme going. I was overwhelmed by the white and black, which was positively there, colored only, white only. I had never seen it. I lived in New York, and was keenly aware of what I wanted to do about that, and did actually do a very political thing during that time, arranging for black and white college students to meet secretly in Atlanta, which we did do, and it was glorious. It was the first time ever. But that was, again, me being the activist, want to go out, to share. So you're hearing the theme, okay? I then came back to New York. I was sick, went out to California, and also became involved in politics at that time. But that was still part of that theme. I came back to New York to take my master's in dance, to dance again with a number of companies, and to meet a fellow. The fellow was not from New York. He was from Massachusetts. And so the crisis was to move to Massachusetts and create a new life in a small town. I came from the Bronx, New York City, you've seen it, you know. And of course to be good at everything. To be able to cook and sew and bake and play, and be, you know, one of the ladies at the same time that I already had a master's degree. And within 1 month after I arrived, Radcliffe and Harvard heard that there was a Martha Graham dancer there, and I became chairman of the dance department at Radcliffe and Harvard.
Cool.
And I promptly bought classes so that I should fit in. And my biggest concern was they'll know how young I am, they won't listen to me. So there was adjusting to a whole new culture, but the theme was always there. I'm enlightening, okay? I also had a dance company, because I minded missing dance. And I had my own dance studio. And it turned out that there is a television station in Boston that did not have enough culture programs based on the FCC demands. And they suddenly pointed to me and said, come, you'll do a 3-week series on dance, which I was doing, called Meet What's in a Dance. And I did. And did I know anything about television? Zero. So here's another lesson. Do you know about dance? Yeah. Do you know about television? No. Can you learn it? Sure. Got to ask a lot of questions, and you got to volunteer for everything so that you can get into as many corners as you can so that you can begin to get a rounded picture of what it is. And also the big thing in television was I had to tell the directors what to pick up, because you will only see what the director picks up, not what I have choreographed. On a regular stage, you'll see it all. So now you got to pinpoint, whom do you need? What do you need to know there? And how are you going to get that person to enhance what you're giving? Which was a big deal, because I knew nothing about it, truly. I knew about dance on stage, but I didn't know about how you tell the cameras to move. They were very happy because they had no idea about modern dance. Whatever I told them, that was fine. I tell them, focus here, focus here. They went right along with it. We finished a 3-week series, and it was prime time, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
And I had kids on stage. We did a lot of improvising and stuff. And they said, and listen to these words, can you do that about all the arts? What did I say?
Yeah, of course.
Then I came home and told my husband, oh, don't worry about it. They're just being nice. 1 week later, hello? Well, where are you? We're waiting. We're waiting? Yeah, we could do the program about all the arts. What I didn't know is that they were so far behind they were going to lose their license. They had to do anything that sounded like culture. And here I was, the arts, you see? And so I began creating programs. I knew borscht about it, truly. I knew what would be interesting, and I put together architecture and dance. And I put together, there were many foreign countries there represented in Boston, a culture of each country. I did it as a guessing game, where you had to figure out based on the costume or what they wore or what they sang, what they were dancing, or what they made, crafts, what country they came from. Oh, everybody loved that. So I had 2 programs, prime time, from nothing, really. But the important thing was the basic theme was still there. The theme of using the arts, all the arts, which I was also learning at the same time that I was enlightening the audience. That was my goal. Well, the next thing that happens is, I'm teaching at the Museum of Fine Arts, and I said, you should really be doing a program for kids with the free half hour you have on PBS, because they all lose interest when they're in the 5th grade, and that's the end of it. And she said, well, what would you do? And she said to her, then it was a typewriter, kids, because I'm old. Typewriter, and she types away, and I say 15 programs, because I'm just full of steam. Well, she introduced it to Channel 2 in Boston, PBS station, biggest one actually in America. And we started working. I worked there 3 months till I discovered that they thought I worked for her. I was her assistant and the programs were hers. So that gives us also another lesson. A lesson in guarding what you're doing and asking questions first about, so why are you writing all this down? What do you intend to do with it? But I was green as grass. And for me, the big thing was opportunity. Right? I did a 3-year series called Meet the Arts. It had traveled all over the world, 14 countries, 14 years. We won the Japan Prize, which America had never won before. And all of it was from the initial passion, the courage, and the commitment. Because they were paying me, my husband said, minus $350 an hour. Because I did unbelievable amounts of things, so it should be good. You all know that. You don't do half measures. You really go for it. That is the answer. You do have to. Never mind whether they have paid you justly or not. At the moment, at the start, get in there. Get all of it squeezed out. And so they said, okay, what's the next series you want to do? I said, no, I'm going to go to commercial television and be the first cultural reporter on the news. And I talked to the guys from NBC in Boston, and they waited 2 months. And sitting in a restaurant across a crowded room, program manager goes like this, takes his card and writes on it, and the waiter delivers it. Once every 2 weeks for 2 minutes at $50 a pop. Okay? What did I say?
Okay.
Of course, for God's sake. And then I started doing it, and they didn't realize the arts are very visual. That's what television is, no talkie, visual. And I did a million kinds of things, also because nobody would say no, you see? And I get all sorts of opportunities, and I had my own 3 cameramen. We did very artistic things. It took forever. I didn't give a damn. I also forgot to mention the husband with the 3 children, and the house out in the country, and the skiing on the weekends. That has to do with passion. And I gotta tell you, don't do this, whatever thing you're talking about, unless it can grab you by the guts and you're willing to give it all. Willing to give it all. So the next thing that happened was, here I am on the news, and from time to time I do the morning show. Every station was required to do a morning show from 9 to 10 throughout the country. It was FCC required. And I would fill in from time to time because the girl who was doing it couldn't get up in time. And the next thing you know, they said, oh, this should be facing me, or it's she. And the next thing you know, they called me in and said, here are 18 guys and me. Sonya, we're going to give you the morning show. We're going to call it the Sonya Hamlin Show. And listen, it's nothing. You know, I mean, who's home? Dodo birds. I'll never forget the words. So you give them a little makeup, hairdo, fashion. There'll be stars coming through. You talk to the stars. And then you can still do the news. They had me all set up. And I said, no. And I said, no, because I'm not interested in that. 2,000 people went to the museum last week because they saw what was in the museum they'd never known before. That's worth it. This is not worth it. Went home, told my husband. He said, you know what? Go back. And this is about sharing something with somebody wise. Talk to other people when you're trying to make a decision. Hear other points of view. They'll hear stuff you've not heard. He said, tell them that if they let you go back and hire a woman producer, woman director, and total woman staff, and program what you want to program, you won't sign a contract. You'll do it for 3 months. You look at it, they look at it, see if you like it, and then you'll see whether you want to do it. And only because he had given me all the words did I think a man would say this to a man so that I would dare. Because this was early on, kids. This was 1970. Yeah, this was not simple. And so I said it. And they said, okay. And we then proceeded to do, the Sonya Hamlin Show was on for 5.5 years. Proceeded to do every unusual thing. We showed the first natural childbirth. We covered men from Vietnam whose parents had disowned them because they came back without a leg and we told you not to go, all that sort of thing. Very outrageous. We did a week on sex. It was the 3rd week we were on the air, and the woman the first morning, I'm doing okay for time, yes? The woman, 5 minutes, okay. The woman, Columbia University, full professor, little 65-year-old lady, cameo pin, gray hair, very nice blue eyes, sweet, pearl earrings. I said, you're president of the Marriage Council of America. What was the most common problem that everybody asks? She said, it's the difference between the fuck syndrome and the love syndrome. Into the camera. Look for the camera.
70s, right?
70s. And we thought we were off the air. So I kept on talking. I thought it was an electronic thing that said, you say that? No. And we had to go to federal FCC in Washington and do a whole bunch of testifying and stuff. They said, we don't really care about this. We care only about politics. They could go too strong one way or the other. And it was a great, marvelous story. But the big thing was that we dared to try everything. It was the beginning of the women's movement. It was a time of enormous ferment. And I suddenly had enormous power. But here's something else to learn. In my mind, I'm still the kid from the Bronx, the younger sister who can't quite make it and isn't too good. And every day I would go away and say, but you didn't ask this question, and did you notice? And you should have gone there. And that wasn't, nothing but criticism, which came from my mother. I want you to hear the voices in your head, the voices that distort what you're doing. And you've got to say to yourself, who is that? Who is that? Who is that saying it isn't good enough, or what are you doing, or this isn't seemly, or this isn't proper, and it isn't ladylike? All of the old voices for all the reasons. Or you don't know anything about this. How do you think you're going to go? Or look at, she knows so much more, I'd better be quiet. All of those voices have got to get louder so that you finally discover who they are and then look at them legitimately and say, is that so? Is that so? I never understood that I was any good at it. No kidding. And because I'm such a passionate nut, I kept on doing it, hoping I'm going to get better, I guess. This next piece is very important. My husband died. I was suddenly left with bringing up 3 kids, and I needed money. And so all I knew how to do was work harder. And one of the things I noticed is that doctors, lawyers, politicians, scientists, all of them, experts, could not talk to the American public. They were up here talking nonsense, and I'm pulling them out of the trees, trying to make them talk about what people need. Most importantly, I thought, how come? They're all so smart. Why do they have no instinct to know what people want to hear about their careers? And I realized that nothing in their training. They get specialized to a point where they don't even have the language anymore. Okay? I began thinking about, I could teach that. I know how to talk to the public about complicated things. Here I had a master, my minor was pre-medical science. I knew what the answers were to the questions, but understood them. Understand them. Where are they coming from? And so, I'm on a plane to South America running the first women's conference in South America, because I was a famous television lady, right? And the next door seat partner is Vern Countryman, law professor from the Harvard Law School. And he says, oh, Sonya, I'm a television lady. Oh, we're going to have a great talk all the way to Colombia. And I'm thinking, you don't have half of it. And I tried it all out. And he said, what would you teach? And I just made it all up because I knew what they needed to know. He said, when we're back, talk to the dean. Okay? Okay. Took the opportunity. So I go, meet, talk to the dean. Good, he says, you come with me to my office and I'm going to play a tape of a lawyer doing something. Listen to this lesson. And then you'll critique it. Now, I knew nothing about that. Well, I was going to learn it if I ever got to a place where they were going to give me a chance. I said, play it without any sound first. Now, first I said, tell me where you are in the trial, what he's trying to accomplish, and I'll tell you if he's accomplishing it. So then he put the thing, and I said, turn off the sound. The sound? Yeah, let's look at the body language, because that's what I knew about, see? Then I said, now rewind it and play the sound. Let's hear how he starts. Because I also knew about what's effective in talking to people. How do you grab them? I was busy grabbing them every day. And we suddenly saw that he was way off the track. And then finally I did the critique. And of course I taught at Harvard for 5 years, became very famous jury consultant, one of the first in the country. I'd written 5 books. And I was also then doing everything for CEOs because I was consulting on their cases and they wanted to know who is this girl, and I ended up being their consultant as well. So I made a very big career out of this odd thing of saying yes, but also tailoring it so somehow I could be successful in it. Instead of saying, well, I can't do that, yet I'll learn. That's the end of it, see? So you've got to dare. And finally, the last thing I became as an actress. And I did that because in Carol's Place, I said, when you say, and I am, I stood up and said, I don't know. I said, I'm an actress. And I thought, no, that's dumb. Nobody here can help you be an actress. And sat at a table, 4 people. One of them was a producer. And I did become an actress. And I performed at Shakespeare. So what I want you to hear is listen to the voices that say no. Grab the opportunities, but fashion them so that you can be successful, right? Never do it without passion, commitment, courage, and you can do anything you want. And look at your themes, your original themes. Who are you in the world? What do you care about most of all? What started you on this? And are you different now? Do you have a new theme? Woo!
Can you imagine having a board of directors that you can talk to every day?
Is this your personal also?